final, or?
Yeah, we're passing out the exam books.
Yeah. Do your chairs.
I have a question for both of you. Can I speak for all the fans here as the voice of the voiceless, for every horror fan here who stick to the originals compared to all the crappy remakes? Now, I don't know if you saw the premiere. How do you relate having someone really cool with the old Evil Ed be compared to some little tool who played the club in it? That's what I thought.
Yeah, that wasn't really a question.
In the form of a question. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I hear he's good.
I don't go on record.
Oh, he can't go on record. That's right.
No, I can't. No. I like the movie, the new one. I think they did a really good job. Now, it's not the same movie, and they didn't try to make it the same movie, which is one of the things that I think they did right, which was they didn't try to recreate the original. They stuck to the basic sort of storyline, but they created a new kind of paradigm for this time in history. And that's what you do when you reimagine it rather than remake it. And that's what I think they did, and I think they succeeded pretty well. It's a good movie.
Over here. Yeah. You were just talking about the vampires, or the cultural element. What were vampires to the both of you before you worked on this film? Did you like Christopher Lee films? Did you just sort of think, well, whatever, it's just another movie monster, and so you got the chance to play one or hunt one? What did they mean to you before Fright Night?
Go ahead. I think I grew up with Bela Lugosi, and also with my sort of modern version of it was Count Yorga and stuff. When I was growing up, and those were and the Hammer films, and those were very sexual. Bustier bodice, sort of heaving bodices, and I was a teenager, so that worked with me. Yeah, I think that my version was Victorian, and sort of a sense of irresistible charm about it, because no one ever seemed to be able to resist, Yorga in his eyes and stuff, and the sort of, and even by the time that we were doing, before we did Fright Night, it had almost become sort of parody stuff. I think.
Yeah, well then there was Fright, and in a way, Fright Night, in Tom's mind, I think, was a reaction to that.
Yeah, Dracula Dead and Loving It, wasn't it?
Yeah, the movies were spoofing it by that time. By the
So
time Fright Night was a warning in Tom's mind. A lot of vampire movies were spoofs. The genre was not being really taken terribly seriously anymore. And I think one of the things Tom set out to do was to reinvigorate the genre. And I thought he succeeded. For me, the original vampire, the Dracula movies, particularly the Bela Lugosi movies, I always found extremely disturbing. I was in a production of Dracula when I was in summer stock, one of my first jobs, and I played Renfield.
Did you really?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, so much fun, going around eating flies, all that. So cool. Yeah. And then I sort of lost touch with the genre, but then there was a movie that Roman Polanski made, and I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, called The Fearless Vampire Killers. Which does that exist in video or in DVD? It does? Because there's an example of a truly scary movie, because it's Roman Polanski, that also is funny. And teeters on that sort of wonderful kind of balance between parody and reality. And manages to maintain it without falling over to one side or the other. And I think that's what Tom was after with Fright Night, and that's how it succeeded, which is one of the reasons why I think the movie has remained a favorite for people, because they know that they're in for some relief at times, because the humor brings relief from the tension, and then at other times it never goes into parody so that you don't take the scary parts seriously. You know, you're still
The parody is sort of contained in the old TV shows that
right.
you know, that are on there. So they're
Right.
they're there, but they're, you know,
Right.
point in the picture.
Yeah. What was it like playing Prince Humperdinck? Fun. Fun. A lot of fun. That was a fun set. I mean, that group of people, first of all, Chris Guest and Rob Reiner and Carrie Elwes, who's here today, Robin Wright, Andre. We were also, sometimes you have the advantage, when we were doing Fright Night, we were in LA shooting, and we all went home at night. So we didn't have that sort of bonding experience that sometimes you get when you're out on a location together. For The Princess Bride, the first 6 weeks or 8 weeks, we were up in the Midlands of England in one hotel, and we were all there together. So we were hanging out together in the evening, eating dinner together. We'd get up in the morning, we'd go to the set together, we'd hang out all day on the set together, we'd come back, we'd have dinner together in somebody's room, or Rob Reiner would have, he found a caterer there, and we would have meals in Rob's room, and we would play games, and it was a great, wonderful, fun experience. And silly. Deeply silly. Now there's another example of a movie that manages to walk the line between parody and seriousness, and you buy both.
Are you and Carrie Elwes good friends? Because after The Princess Bride, you went on to do another movie. It's actually a parody of Robin Hood Men in Tights. Or did it just cast it because they saw each other?
I'm not quite sure of your question. Are we good friends because of that? Or say that again?
Are you two good friends because you were casted in 2 movies together? Or was that just a coincidence?
Did you do Robin Hood?
No, I wasn't in Robin Hood Men in Tights. But thank you for thinking of me. And if you want to keep believing that I was in it, that's okay too. And if you have some pictures that I can sign. Carrie and I became friends. In fact, we've gotten to know each other even better over the years because we had some mutual friends that we would see occasionally in Los Angeles. So I know Carrie pretty well. In fact, I'm going to go see him at some point today.
That's him now.
Well, look, let me ask you a question, because the new movie did come out, and at this point, it's happened to a lot of the older films from the 70s, 80s. In seeing your films remade, do you get a sense of yourself in history at this point in the genre? Is it one of these things where, well, I made a milestone, and now people are trying to follow that through? Or do you just rack it down as a job you did at one time, and what happened with that property years from then doesn't really affect your thinking?
What are we going to say in front of these people?
It's just a job. Come on.
What
All this, you guys are investing all this stuff in this movie. It's just a job. No, it's not true, actually. In this case, definitely not. You know, because not only have we all remained friends, including with Tom Holland, the director, who I've been in touch with fairly frequently, but through experiences like this, through these conventions, we get a chance to interact with the fans and see just how important this movie is in a lot of people's lives. And not just this movie, but other movies that we've done as well. And you can't be blasé about that. Because when somebody comes up and says, you have no idea how important this movie was in my life. Or somebody brings a small child up and says, my child is named for a character in the movie. Then it's extraordinary. I mean, I had a gentleman say today, you can't imagine how much joy you brought into my life. Well, geez. How many of us get a chance to do that? So, it's not something that we're blasé about.
Someone came up to me today and signed a picture for me and they said, I was born the week after this opened. And I was like, I mean, that's, you know, that's not history. Something having longevity. being a part of something historical.
Right. And also looking at yourself and going, oh my God.
Right.
To kind of to elaborate on the question he brought up, Patrick, is there any sort of sense of frustration when you're involved in something that's uniquely original, like the first Fright Night was? And I know the new one's getting good reviews, but it's probably, despite that, I think it gets lumped in with this glut of remakes. Some pointless, some interesting. But I mean, is there frustration? Like, hey, we had this great thing that's now someone else is doing again, or is it, or can you just separate, like, we had our great thing.
I don't know, my attitude is sort of like, I mean, I don't want to draw a parallel to me and Hank Aaron, but, you know.
No, please do. Go ahead.
But, you know, most athletes, for instance, will say records are made to be broken. And there are certain paradigms that occur that are meant to be redone, possibly improved upon, at least changed. That's life. You know, I don't resent it. I don't see it as being an affront in any way. What we did, and it will never be lost. It's on, you know, it exists. It's on film. So people can compare them, they can contrast, people can be pissed off because they made a new one. It doesn't really affect me so much, just because I was flattered, actually, you know. And in fact, Colin Farrell was, you can't believe what a big fan, huge fan of the original Fright Night. Colin Farrell said he watched it 50 times when he was a kid. And he was, and that he was so nervous the first time he met me, and it has nothing to do with me, but just the fact that he had created this kind of iconic figure in his mind, and that he was very nervous about being faithful to the original in terms of the feeling of the movie and wanting to do it right and wanting to do the character right, etc. So, you know, how can you get upset about that?
I wasn't thrilled. Didn't think it needed to be done. But at the same time, you know, things like this and the, you know, the fans and these congregations that happen, you know, regularly are just, I mean, that's better than doing the film in a way. I mean, it's better than it was then. It's better now in a way because the thing has more merit, you know, for people.
More resonance.
More resonance, and people, you know, love it more. I feel like they love it more now than they did when we did it, and so that's very gratifying.
You know, the movie wasn't a huge hit when it came out.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was a moderate success, but it has lived on through people watching it and watching with their kids, and then they're watching with their kids. And